After making the designs for Sebastian and Lydia in November, I knew that my design skills needed to improve. For example, their jobs aren't that obvious. You wouldn't know Sebastian is an elite bodyguard when looking at his design. Because of this, December was a month filled with character design. When I started working on it, I focused on silhouettes. I'd seen people use silhouettes to test composition and figured it might work for character design as well, which it absolutely did. However, I was unintentionally limiting my progress by only using the same 3 colours for every single design. This meant that while my design skills were improving to an extent, it was very difficult to portray a character's personality. After watching many of Colorverse's videos, I decided to switch things up. There was an immediate improvement of my design. This character, for example, has a clear link to love portrayed through the monochromatic pink colour scheme. This character has an obvious link to nature through the greens featured throughout her design. After thumbnailing, I was satisfied with my progress and decided to develop 2 of my designs. Starting with this design, I didn't change much, keeping the pinks and heart motif, even amplifying it by adding the hearts to the skirt. Overall, it's an incredibly basic design, but easily conveys her main love motif. However, her personality and role isn't conveyed whatsoever. The potion bottles look random as they don't link to anything. This is a common theme in all of my designs, where individual character elements are just that, individual, when in reality, they should all work together cohesively. Moving on to the next design, which I think is a lot more fleshed out. One thing I noticed in Colorverse's videos is that she emphasizes the importance of adding a story to the character to dictate the general design element. I incorporated this when designing this character, making her a zombie that came back to life mid-embalming process, leading to her becoming a mage. She now goes across the world adventuring, while also kind of acting as an advertisement of sorts for the funeral director that accidentally made her a zombie. I incorporated the zombie elements with some faint, highly desaturated bruises and her very desaturated skin tone. Her powers come from the embalming fluids, making the general process very important to her character. Because of this, her mouth is sewn shut into a smile, and her staff is actually a tool used during the embalming process. As I said, she has become almost an advertisement for the funeral home, hence why there's a logo on all of her clothes. I used colour to portray the mysteriousness of the character. After all, she is a zombie. I also think that they suit her incredibly light, desaturated skin tone well. I still think that her design can be improved, though I like it at this stage for now. To recap, I learnt the immense value of thumbnailing, allowing me to get my ideas on the page while considering the silhouette. I also learnt to use colour immediately in the design process to show the personalities of the characters and give them a general mood. One of the most important things I learned is to give each character a story, no matter how insignificant they may be. This ensures that they have obvious traits like jobs or hobbies that work together to create one cohesive theme. Finally, I learned the need to plan designs ahead to some extent, having a Pinterest board for them. This would help in creating cohesive designs. If you have any further tips or advice, then please put them into the comment section. After learning all of this, I decided that I was ready to move on to drawing the main design for my character, Silvie, applying everything I had learnt before. Her story is that she's a homesteader that lives on her own, isolated from society. Because of this, she has a special relationship with nature, able to befriend virtually any animal. However, this also makes her very naive, childish even. I made 3 thumbnails, though I struggled a lot with the third one. It was quite random and very undeveloped, mostly because I hated it, so much of what I say won't apply to it. I feel that her thumbnails feature cohesive themes. I used shapes and colour to emphasize her connection to nature, as her design is based on the giant tail-tit. I think the second design did this best. I decided to continue with the second thumbnail for the main design, however I still had some issues with it. The silhouette left something to be desired, and her homesteader qualities just aren't very obvious. While this likely isn't the final design, but very close to it, I do think this solved the issues well. The main improvements came from emphasizing certain parts of her story in the design. For example, I made her role as a homesteader more obvious by adding a steed-like pattern to the cape and bottom scarf, as well as adding gardening tools to her cape. I also emphasized her animal connection by making her cape look more like wings on the edges. This also improved her silhouette. Overall, I'm quite happy with her design. I feel it's not too busy, but not too simple either, showing her story clearly and leaving room for visual improvement as she goes through her character arc. An example of this is her cape that doesn't completely look like wings or a tail, as she hasn't grown maturity-wise and thus hasn't grown her wings. Overall, there's definitely been a big improvement in my character design skills. For example, Silvie's colours are much more intentional and synchronise well with her character, while Lydia's colours remind me of a pumpkin. Moving on to the much more difficult topic, perspective. I've struggled on perspective for months now, and this month is no different. I just can't figure it out for some reason, even when I'm using references. I understand it as a basic concept, but find that I struggle to apply it. I especially struggle when doing reference studies, as in reality, every object has a different vanishing point. This overcomplicates things, making my improvement incredibly slow, if not non-existent. Even in pictures that look like they only have one vanishing point, such as this one, they actually have several because of this table. Due to this, despite trying multiple studies, I haven't been able to improve my understanding or application of perspective. If you have any tips, please put them into the comment section. Something much more positive, however, is my anatomy skills. I've noticed that all of my full body drawings have one big problem. The pose is incredibly stiff, even after drawing 100 poses in a week. To solve this, I finally started doing gesture studies for the first time. While I found the time-limited nature of them to be quite difficult, even stressful to some extent, they are definitely a step in the right direction. I didn't do many of these studies, but I still saw a small improvement as I went. I usually do all of my work on my tablet, but for this, I chose to use a physical sketchbook. I think this should lessen the pressure of making everything perfect with the lasso tool. I also didn't use a rubber drawing this, which should hopefully improve my line confidence. Furthermore, I continued doing the Posemaniacs Daily Pose Challenge, forcing me to do poses from several angles. I tried to focus on the side angle as I still default to the front angle when drawing anything. However, I've now noticed a tendency to draw at the 3/4 angle, which is a positive change, though I must admit they aren't very good attempts. I'm still struggling a lot with the legs. Wherever I put them just feels wrong for some reason. I also think that they're the main thing making my poses look stiff. For example, this pose looks okay until you add the legs in. Again, doing gesture studies should help with this, but if you have any advice, please put them into the comment section. With all that said, I think my goals for January will be to focus on perspective. It's something that I really need to work on if I want to go anywhere with my art. I'm happy with my character design skills at the moment, so I'll put a pause on that, but will, as always, be working on anatomy. It just never ends. To change things up, I also want to start working on environmental design. I've always struggled with plants especially, so would quite like to improve this. So that was everything I did to improve my art in December. The next video will be my whole year's art evaluation for 2025, so subscribe to see that. Or you can watch all of my older art evaluations from this year on my YouTube channel. I'll continue making monthly art evaluations into the new year, so subscribe to be notified when they come out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like and subscribe to support my journey. Bye bye!